Meeting to order. This is our regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors for Tuesday, March 10th of 2026. Thank you for being here this morning. Do we have any moments of silence from supervisors? We'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Jenny Craven, would you lead us in the pledge today? Thank you. Do we have any extra items not appearing on the agenda?
We have no extra items, Chair.
Thank you. We'll move on to the approval of the consent agenda. I have word that we're going to be pulling 5.9 and 5.10, which will be taken up later in the meeting today. Is there any other items from supervisors that need to be pulled? Okay. Anything else? Not seeing anybody in the public that wishes to request an item to be pulled from consent. No hands in Zoom either, so I'll bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I move to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as proposed with the exceptions of 5.9 and 5.10.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that carries 5-0. We'll move on to our timed items. We're going to start with our 902 item, public input. First, can I see a show of hands in the room? How many people intend to speak at public input? Okay. Any online? If you could raise your hand for the board clerk, please. One? Okay. We'll go ahead and start in the room so the first person can come up. You'll state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the board.
Okay, good morning, elected supervisors. My name is Laura Lashley, and I live in Sterling Shore Mobile Home Park. Last week I was life flighted to Santa Rosa in order to save my life, and I am grateful to still be here on Tuesday morning standing in front of you. I feel like my life is important enough, the people surrounding me are important enough, and all of us are important enough to be on the agenda for the Board of Supervisors. In the past week, I have learned how precious life is and not to take it for granted. These are the last years of our lives, and we should be able to enjoy them in peace and happiness. Please listen to us. We have been here week after week with very good arguments to be on your agenda for a rent stabilization ordinance. And in the interim, we are asking for a temporary moratorium on this pass-through fee that we have been subjected to. Please don't take us for granted, and let us live the rest of our lives without having to worry about how we're going to pay for it after working lifetimes of hard work. With a very lucky second chance of life, I'm asking you to please listen to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Laura Lashley. Next person.
Hello, my name is Les Miller. I'm on the Tribal Advisory Board for the Museums of Lake County. And I might be jumping the gun here a little bit, but I thank the board for the consideration of the extension for the
Mr. Miller, that is its own item today. We just pulled it off the consent agenda for discussion later at a time later in the meeting. So we'll have to have your comments at that time. Okay. Because it's a separate item.
I'm due at another meeting at Big Valley, and they're probably going to string me up by the time I get there, but I just wanted my input.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it, Les. Next person.
Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Barbara Armanino, and I'm from the Sterling Shores Mobile Home Park. The last time I was here, my focus was on making sure that you all understood what a ruthless, nonprofit, money-grabbing corporation Caritas is. Through all the emails and speeches made by myself and my neighbors, it appears that you've been listening, but it doesn't appear that you've heard us. Now my focus has shifted to, why aren't you hearing us? Our particular situation is happening in District 4, but I know park owners are gouging mobile home owners in each of your 5 districts, and in each of your 5 districts, house the residents that elected you. More than likely, many are seniors in mobile home parks. And I'm starting to lose my voice, but okay. So we have asked for weeks to add to your agenda our issue of needing a retroactive moratorium on new fees. A moratorium would offer us much needed protection until your board can adopt an RSO. Why are you dismissing this solution? Without that protection, we are like sitting ducks, and so are the rest of the mobile home owners in all 5 districts. Your constituents in all 5 districts are watching your moves or lack thereof. Not only are our futures at stake, but your futures on this board could be at stake. As seniors living in modest mobile homes, it may not seem much to you, but guaranteed in all 5 districts, mobile home owners are proud of their homes and will fight to keep them. I can guarantee you the senior mobile home owners in all 5 districts will remember who voted to help save their homes or who caused them to lose their homes. Last week you heard pleas from a 94-year-old and a 95-year-old from our park that lives solely on Social Security. Those are just 2 of the many residents that are now living in fear of losing the roof over their head. To drive that point home, you all need to imagine your elderly parents having to grovel in front of a board for their financial future security. Think about it. Again, I suggest this is happening in all 5 districts that are represented by all 5 board members. For heaven's sakes, do the right thing. Thank you for listening and hopefully hearing me today.
Thank you. Next person.
My name is Robert Sims. I live at the Sterling Shores Mobile Home Park. And, you know, I lose my mind as soon as the microphone gets close. I don't know if anybody else does that. There's 67 homes in the park. I only know maybe a third of them. A lot of them are very kind of reclusive. And I don't know how many of them vote either. I do. You know, I always make it a point. I doubt if they contribute to anybody's campaign, just because of financial things, unlike corporations that can. I don't know if you guys have any limit on what you can take from a corporation, especially one outside of the county. But, you know, I plan on voting. And I know a number of you are up for re-election. Is that right? Who's up for re-election this spring?
We can't answer questions right now at this point,
Well, I
but
feel,
we can get you connected to answer that question with somebody.
okay, I'll ask you individually then after this. Just wondering, and I know this has come up before in 2014. Some of you were on the board at that time or shortly after. I don't know why it didn't go through, but we really hope you can do it this time. At least the rent stabilization, and we really would like some help immediately with a retroactive moratorium on prices, the companies raising prices, because they can still do it until that RSO goes through. They can do anything they want. They can double and triple it. I lived in another county for over 50 years. Had some friends that lived in a mobile home park. Beautiful place, right on the cliffs on the west side of town. And the park was sold. The new owner came in, tripled the rent. So most people that lived there, are the ones that had mortgages, they lost everything. They couldn't sell their homes. So, it's important that we have some sort of backing on this dealing with park owners. So I hope you can remember that and take care of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person in the room?
Hello, I'm Tom Flanagan from Sterling Shores. I've spoken at 2 meetings, one Western Region and here last week, posing questions about transparency. I got no answers at either. Others of us have been at many more meetings and written, emailed, no answers. So I just, again, am asking for some transparency. What's blocking the votes, if nothing else? Even putting it on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good morning, supervisors. My name is Maya Lynn. The reason we're wearing this, in case you don't know, it stands for Save Our Shelter. We're asking you, EJ, Jessica, Brad, Helen, Bruno, you all have mobile homes in your areas. Whether you're on the ad hoc committee or not, you should be aware and educating yourselves. Many of us are teachers from the past, and I feel like we're still being teachers, which is okay, which leads me to the fact that I have a handout for you all. Speaking of education, I decided to educate myself on how important it is to buy a mobile home park. And a lot of really interesting things with the Mobile Home University out there. There are many ways to get investors and to see how that you instantly increase your money in your pocket by instantly increasing rents, and then you stop providing utility services, which most mobile home parks used to do, and you start passing through the water and the sewer and any other infrastructure problems that you can relate to utilities. And then you go for pass-through fees. So it's all out there. I hope you've read it. I hope you've listened to the YouTubes. I hope you're not just listening to some little bird in your ear. I know we're a lot of birds in your ears, but we don't have a lobbyist group sitting in Sacramento or anywhere. So yes, please look at us, see us. That's what we're asking you for. I'd like for you to know that mobile home, our particular mobile home park, the CPI for 2025 was 2.7, ours was 5%. The CPI in 2024 was 2.9, ours was 4.5%. The CPI in 2023 was 4.1, ours was 6%. Do I need to keep telling you that they're raising our rents to exorbitant amounts? Do I need to keep telling you that we started at $640 a month and we're paying $1,000? You know, what do you need to know? I also know that, as someone stated, that there's election coming up. I have never been as involved in politics. I really just have lived my life and done other things and worked, but I really don't understand what's going on. I don't know how you can keep turning your heads. I have lunch meetings with some of your opposing people coming up. I'd like to have lunch with you. I do plan to have a candidate forum, and I plan to invite Julia and Danielle if she's still running, and so we can get some answers and learn what you're going to help to do with our district. I know you've been in office for a long time. Many of you have been in office for 10 years or more. Is this new for people trying to get help? How long does it take? Let's see, what else do I have to say? I know you voted yourselves in an increase a couple years ago. The average BO Board of Supervisors in the state of California makes $69,000 a year. You guys make $94,000 a year. You voted yourself an increase. I'm asking you to vote us an increase. Our Social Security goes up, our rent goes up twice the amount. We never get ahead. And the only way you can help us get a raise is put a moratorium on these mobile home parks and listen to us and help us.
Thank you.
And I have, oh, well, somebody else can do that. What was her name? Do you remember? I did.
Maya?
You can put those up here on the next person, please.
Hi, good morning. My name is Steven Zerker, and I also live at Sterling Shores Mobile Home Park. My wife was going to be here, but I guess she's a little bit late. I know you have a plate full of pain in the neck type issues on always that you have to deal with as supervisors. So I have no problem saying that you are our favorite supervisors in the county. The best. But I know brown nosing's not going to get me anywhere. So that being said, we don't understand why you have been pretty silent on this whole moratorium concerning pass-through fees. Some thoughts are elections cost money, and people that have money can support you for elections. We're concerned maybe some of the mobile home park owners are funding some of your election, and this is maybe why you're kind of silent on the issue. But we give you the benefit of the doubt. We don't believe that for 1 minute, because you're the best. Some thoughts, well, please don't let this cloud your judgment. Please consider, we need your help on this. We are okay, but there are so many people in the park that are not okay. 95-year-olds, 80-year-olds. I got a pension, I was a civil servant, and I also have Social Security, and we're okay, but, you know, there's a lot that aren't okay. God bless you all in your decision on this, because we need help. Thank you. And that's all.
Thank you. Next person in the room. Not seeing any more. We're going to move on to Zoom. iPhone 9, if you could state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes, please.
Sky Lewa, Pillsbury Family Farms. Every time the public comes into this room, we are told the same thing. Follow the rules, comply with the ordinance, and work within the system. We see the goalpost move. We see ordinances rewritten, interpretations changed, and policies adjusted after the fact in ways that make it nearly impossible for the ordinary person to know what standard they are actually being held to. That comes across as instability. Instability erodes public trust faster than any disagreement ever could. And what concerns me more is the direction being given to staff. The role of this board is not to figure out how to arm the county with sharper teeth against its own residents. Your role is to ensure that laws are fair, consistent, and applied with integrity. Yet more often than not, what we see is the opposite. We see the board kicking the can down the road, sending issues back to staff, another memo, another revision, while the public continues to live the consequences of unclear and shifting rules. And while this is happening, the institutions that should protect the public are increasingly perceived as protecting the government itself. When people believe their sheriff's department is more concerned with shielding the government from criticism than defending the public's rights, that is a crisis of confidence. Law enforcement exists to serve the community, not to insulate the system from accountability. Civil rights are not theoretical concepts. They live in the ordinances you pass, they live in the policies enforced. And when those ordinances create barriers, selective enforcement, or unequal treatment, the people notice. Many of you speak of accountability, and accountability cannot be selective. It cannot only apply to the public while the government remains insulated from scrutiny. True accountability requires something harder, the willingness to remain unbiased, even when criticism comes from your own constituents. Because the government does not grant rights to the people. It's the people who grants authority to the government. And when that balance is forgotten, history has shown us again and again what follows. Distrust, division, and a public that feels pushed away farther from the very institution that's meant to represent them. So I ask this board to reflect on something very simple today. Stop moving the goalpost. Stop searching for new ways to strengthen enforcement against the public. Instead, strengthen fairness, strengthen transparency, strengthen trust. Because the trust of the county is not measured by how hard it could come down on the residents. It is measured by whether its people still believe in a system that treats them justly. Muleha.
Thank you. No more hands? I'm going to go ahead and close public comment. We're going to move on to our 903 item, which is Pet of the Week.
Hi, I'm Officer Real with Lake County Animal Care and Control. This is Chase. He is a 1-year-old lab pit mix. Chase is obviously a cuddler, as you can see. He gets along with other dogs that have been at our facility. And he's just an absolute love bug. So if you guys are interested in adopting him or any other canines, we do have a free adoption event coming up, I believe, March 14th, down at the shelter, which is a Saturday. So come on down, love on some animals, adopt if you can. If not, then we completely understand. Can we go say hi?
March 13th.
What was that?
March 13th.
I think 14th. What was the date on the adoption again?
March 14th.
March 14th. Thank you. Do you have a comment on this item?
Well, someone's trying to get in on Zoom and they can't. They're not getting in. Is there some other way they can call you, or they're trying, they say, and they're not getting in? They're sitting there trying to get on. Is there a phone number they can call if they can't get the Zoom to work?
There is a phone number they can use on the agenda, but are you talking, if it's public comment, we've already closed that.
Well, she was trying to get in the whole time, but
Well, if you could get her number, I can give her a call later.
you're going to call it personally afterwards?
Yes. I can't, yeah.
Point of order, she needs to come
Yes.
to the microphone, Mr. Chair.
What was that?
Would she need to come to the microphone?
Yeah. Is there any comments on the Pet of the Week? Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, thank you, Chair. I think we should take a moment to have Rachel introduce herself as the new Animal Control Director.
Go ahead, Director Smith.
I don't know if this unhooks, but thank you, Board of Supervisors, for having me, inviting me over to my first visit here to the Board of Supervisors meeting. And thank you to all of you from the public who have come. Just to introduce myself, my name's Ray Smith. I'm the new appointed Director of Animal Care and Control. I'm really, really excited to be here. I'm really excited to take up this post. I really appreciate the board for voting me in and appointing me to this position. I have a rather long history in animal welfare. I've worked in several different states for several different jurisdictions as an officer, as a vet tech, managing shelters, and particularly municipal shelters. So we have a really, really great team. I've been getting to know them over the past couple of weeks, my third week there. And I'm hoping that we can bring about some good changes to the shelter, about some relief, hopefully, to the public and those of you who have animals, and develop some good programs that I think would be of benefit to Lake County. One of the first things that we're planning on doing is developing a community-wide survey about the services that Animal Care and Control provides to the county. So we're really looking for input from you on the services we provide, how things have been going, and some things that you would like to see from us in the future. I'm very big on openness, honesty, transparency, and so I really am looking for really thoughtful comments from you about what you think that we can do to help provide for you and your animals, or maybe your neighbors who have animals. So I'm really excited about being here, and look forward to talking with you and reading some of these reviews that you put in, and seeing what kind of good that we can do for the public and for the county. So thank you.
Welcome, Ms. Smith.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Is there any public comment on the Pet of the Week item? No hands. Thank you. We'll move on to our 6.3 item, and our library director is not available today, so we're going to be passing on 6.3. We're going to move on to 6.4, which is our 906 item, presentation of proclamation designating the month of March 2026 as American Red Cross Month in Lake County. And our Vice Chair, Supervisor Pyska, is going to handle this proclamation. If you're here for the Red Cross proclamation, you're welcome to come up and join Supervisor Pyska here on the stage.
You know more people than I do. Here.
Great. All right, proclamation designating the month of March 2026 as American Red Cross Month in Lake County. Whereas during American Red Cross Month, we recognize the compassion in Lake County and reaffirm our commitment to care for one another in times of crisis. And whereas this generous spirit is woven into the fabric of our community and advance the humanitarian legacy of Red Cross founder Clara Barton, one of the most honored women in our country's history, who nobly dedicated herself to alleviating suffering. And whereas today, kind-hearted individuals in our community exemplify Clara Barton's commitment as they provide a beacon of hope for our neighbors in need through voluntary and selfless contributions, whether it's delivering shelter, food, and comfort during disasters, providing critical blood donations for hospital patients, supporting military families, veterans, and caregivers throughout the unique challenges of service, saving lives with first aid and CPR, and delivering aid and reconnecting loved ones separated by global disasters. And whereas, as an organization that supports people at their most vulnerable, the American Red Cross Community Adaptation Program, CAP, partners with hyper-local organizations to provide essential services and make strategic investments that assist families and communities better cope with humanitarian and climate crises. And whereas we honor all those who lead with their hearts to serve people in need, and we ask everyone to join in this commitment to continue to strengthen our community. Now therefore be it proclaimed to the Board of Supervisors of the County of Lake, does hereby proclaim March 2026 as American Red Cross Month, and encourage all citizens of Lake County to reach out and support its humanitarian mission, passed and adopted this 10th day of March 2026, signed by our Chair of the Board of Supervisors. So a lot of times when we think about the work of the Red Cross, we think about it as reacting to a disaster or a situation here locally or around the world. We see deployments whenever an event occurs. But what we have in Lake County is very unique. It's an investment from the American Red Cross. That's the CAP organization that was mentioned this year in the proclamation, which is embedded in our community and really focuses on the proactive work of building resilience. And so I just want to pass it to Shannon to maybe talk about that a little bit more, because it's very special, it's very unique, and there's only a handful of these programs around the country.
Great, thank you. I do want to say a little something about that, but because it is International Women's Month, I wanted to start with a quote about Clara Barton, our founder, and this was actually written by her cousin. And one of the things that he said about her is that one of her most outstanding qualities was her almost complete disregard for precedent. The fact that a thing had always been done in a given way was evidence only that it could be done again in that fashion. But it was of of no value to her, proving that it was the best way to do it. She always had faith in the possibility of something better. It irritated her to be told how things had always been done. She knew that a very large proportion of things that had been done ever since creation had been blunderingly done. And so she was always ready to listen to suggestions of better ways. Once she decided on a course, she defied the tyranny of precedent, she held true to her Declaration of Independence, and she saw her experiment through. She simply forbade herself the luxury of a closed mind. And for the community adaptation program, it really is about doing things in a new way and partnering with communities. We don't come in and do it for you, but we are here to say, how can we help? How can we increase your capacity? Now, because the CAP program works in that way doesn't mean that all of the services that we are really known for have gone away. We're still doing those, and we wanted to share just a few stats about those if we might.
Thank you, Shannon. Hi, I'm Lauren Timian. I'm the Community Disaster Program Manager here in Lake County. We just want to share that we have a team of 33 amazing volunteers who respond all across Lake County, Mendocino, and Colusa, so they drive quite a lot. We have 18 that are based here out of Lake County, and this past year alone, they have responded to 37 home fires and floods. So these are our volunteers who are going out at 2 a.m. any time of the day to be there for our community. We have also educated 52 people in hands-only CPR, as well as 166 people have received our Be Red Cross Ready presentations. We are always looking for more volunteers. We are always looking to build our resilience, build our capacity here in Lake County. So if anyone is interested in joining our amazing team, you can visit redcross.org and come join us. We'd be happy to have you. Our volunteers are ready to respond, and we're here for the community. I want to pass it to Tammy, who has another way to get involved.
Hi, Tammy Alexey. I am also part of the CAP team. And I just want to invite you for any of the presentations that were mentioned, Be Red Cross Ready, Pedro, which is for kindergarten through third grade, hands-only CPR, also regular CPR. Hopefully I'll be trained as a train the trainer at the end of the month. And I'm missing one. Ready Rating. So Ready Rating is actually for agencies to be able to see find out their level of readiness. So any agencies or organizations out there, it could be a mobile home park. This would be a great thing for you to do. Sound the alarm. The big one. Yeah, and we're always looking for more volunteers to, go out and do sound the alarm, which is to put smoke detectors or go in and check smoke detectors in your home.
And there's one other point that wasn't made, and maybe Shannon can talk about this a little bit more, because we have our COAD, which is now standing up, and we have our sheriff in the back room. What a COAD does, a COAD is Community Organizations Active in Disaster. And so organizing all of our local stakeholders, NGOs, organizations, faith-based organizations, all the organizations in Lake County that can respond during an event and work with the sheriff. Red Cross has taken the lead to make sure that our COAD is active and ready to go, and I get the alerts. So Shannon, can you just talk about that for a minute?
Also, let me just say that the next COAD meeting is Friday, a week from Friday at 9:30. It will be at Galilee Lutheran Church. Anybody is welcome to attend that if you'd like to learn more about how community organizations can be active in disaster. Traditionally, in the past, it was like only the emergency managers and Red Cross and those big agencies. But what we know that the true path to resilience in a community is that the community responds to disasters in its own area. And so the COED is really about that. There are many different committees that you can get involved with if you're interested, but I will just say 2 weeks ago we came and we presented on the resilience centers, and we're looking, if you don't know in your local neighborhood where you would go in time of emergency, if it was extreme heat and you had no power and you couldn't charge your durable medical equipment, that is the group that is helping increase our capacity throughout the county. So we'd love to see you a week from Friday at Galilee Lutheran Church, which is in Soda Bay at 9:30, and everybody is welcome.
All right, thank you.
Any comments from board members? Supervisor Sabatier?
Just a brief thank you for everything you do. Appreciate the pivot that has occurred in Lake County that was mentioned, the fact that you are being very proactive in bringing us some solutions before the emergencies occur.
Supervisor Crandall?
Yes, thank you for all the work. I really want to highlight, I know it was like a year ago, but the help that you put together for the Lucerne Alpine Senior Center, because that's a really big hub for District 3. So again, thank you for that.
Go ahead, Supervisor Owen.
I really appreciate all of your work, and I'm wishing you a very slow season.
Yay! Thank you for that.
And not slow to be prepared.
No.
Thank you for your partnerships with the community and the county. It's appreciated. With that, I'll go ahead and open it up for public comment. I see our Social Services Director.
Rachel Dillman Parsons, Social Services Director, and I just wanted to thank Red Cross for their partnership. You talked about everything I was going to praise you for, so good job. Shannon, Lauren, and Tammy are all wonderful to work with, and they are so responsive and active in our community, and your support is invaluable to us, so thank you for everything you do.
Thank you. Any further public comment? And no hands online. We're going to go ahead and close public comment. I think we're going to get a picture.
You want to stand up here?
Sure, I can.
No, I'm just asking. We could both stand.
Yeah, let's both. I'll move Bruno's chair.
We'll move Bruno's chair.
Yeah.
As long as you don't switch it.
He doesn't like my chair.
Ready? 1, 2. Do one more. Terrific. Thank you so much. I know Bruno's got the big moke chair.
I know, he has a nice chair. This uncomfortable one with the bump in it, I found that it helps keep me forward, so it works now. Once I learned how to sit in it.
Next, we're going to move on to our 6.5 item, our 910 item, which is presentation of a proclamation commending Operation Tango Mike for 23 years of service in supporting our military personnel deployed around the world. And Supervisor Crandall, our veteran on the board, is going to handle this. And if you're here for Tango Mike, please come up and join Supervisor Crandall. Anybody here supporting this is welcome to be up here with Supervisor Crandall.
All right. So every year we do this proclamation because of the fine work that these folks do to volunteer to get soldiers some sort of morale while they're deployed and protecting, our freedom. And so I always appreciate doing this because I was the soldier who got these packages at one time, and they were a big deal, especially when we didn't have the time we weren't able to get like a text or had that good of fiber back then. So I can imagine how it felt for the Vietnam veterans who had to wait for the mail and a month-old letter or something of the like. So even just getting something tangible in your hands to look at and read and smell and eat or whatever it is that's in the package, it just makes you feel like some sort of piece of home is there with you. So the wonderful work, it goes a long way. It's something that, money has to buy, but the feeling for them is something that, it's not a value in that faction. It's something that you always remember. There's one lady who I thought was like she's from the rancheria that I'm from, and she usually didn't get along with my aunts, right? But she sent me a letter while I was deployed. I always remember that, and there's always a special bond. My aunts and her still don't get along, but I get along with her. So I'll read this proclamation off. Proclamation commending Operation Tango Mike for 23 years of service in supporting our military personnel deployed around the world. Whereas Operation Tango Mike has supported deployed military personnel throughout Operation Enduring Freedom, Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation New Dawn, Operation Onward Liberty, Operation Odyssey Lightning, Operation Inherent Resolve, Operation Freedom Sentinel, and Epic Fury. And whereas Operation Tango Mike has shipped more than 29,000 care packages to deployed personnel and assisted multitudes of military families, and whereas Operation Tango Mike coordinates the annual collection and distribution of Christmas gifts and school supplies for military families, and whereas Operation Tango Mike has coordinated and hosted many welcome home celebrations and ceremonies for returning troops, and whereas Operation Tango Mike has assisted in honoring 3 of Lake County's fallen heroes in the global war on terror, and whereas the Secretary of War has recognized families and community members as the power behind the power, and whereas Operation Tango Mike fills a crucial role in supporting family members and loved ones of our armed forces and provides a compassionate community and incalculable moral support to families and loved ones, and whereas Operation Tango Mike will mark 23 years of unwavering support for military personnel and families on March 19th, 2026 at their monthly packing party. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed, the Board of Supervisors of the County of Lake does hereby commend Operation Tango Mike for the 23 years of service in supporting our military personnel deployed throughout the world, passed and adopted this 10th day of March 2026. Signed, Chair of the Board, Brad Rasmussen.
First and foremost, any veterans in the room, thank you for your service. Thank you for our freedoms. You know, I think it's incumbent upon us to realize we're here today. Probably nobody thought about driving over an IED on your way here. None of us expect that a rocket-propelled grenade might come through the roof of this building. It's because we have military that keep us safe and keep us free, and they sign up voluntarily to do that. I'm very proud of the fact that Operation Tango Mike is an all-volunteer organization. For 23 years, and nobody's been paid to do this. It's done as a labor of love from our heart. If you look at this small sampling of our volunteers, we have veteran daughter, veteran spouses, veteran widows, children of veterans, and also we have a mother here of someone currently deployed. Right now from Lake County, we have a lot of people serving in harm's way. And besides care packages, we're trying to support those families as well. They're under a great deal of stress right now. So please keep that in mind. If you know any military families, just offer them some support, even if it's kind words, you know, let them know that you're thinking about them, you care about them, and you appreciate that their family is serving and sacrificing for us. On behalf of our volunteers, our board of directors, and the military we serve, I'd like to thank the board for recognizing Operation Tango Mike. This is more than a piece of paper. We have copies of this that will go in every care package, and we've heard the stories about how they feel when they read this. And troops from Lake County say to people in their unit, this is what they do where I live. This is what they do where I come from. So we're very proud of that our troops appreciate the efforts. And thank you to the Lake County community and beyond that have continued to support us for 23 years. It's an expensive endeavor. It's $6,000 a month to send 100 care packages. Shipping alone is $30.15 a box. So if you see that we're having a fundraiser, stop by, support us, please. We need your help to keep this going. And, you know, God bless America and God bless our troops and our veterans. Thank you.
Anyone else like to say anything? No? Yes, come. Please. Go ahead.
I'm standing in front of you to thank your support and kindness toward me and my son who's employed. As an Iranian American woman and living here for 50 years, at the beginning of my feeling is I'm ashamed of what is going on in my previous homeland called Iran. I beg your forgiveness for their murderous, horrendous behavior toward the world, including my son who's gone on Saturday on his deployment. I'm one of you, and I love what Jenny does. It became like a second home to me to be part of what she's doing. I love you all, and I love for the peace to arrive in Middle East and our children, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, to come back home. Every one of them. Thank you very much, and God bless America and the peace and world. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? I don't know if anyone can follow that up. Anyone from the board?
Back to the board, supervisors. Go ahead, Supervisor Sabatier.
Again, I'll keep it short. Thank you for continuing to do this. I know we met over a decade ago. I can't even say exactly how many years, and you were doing the exact same thing you're still doing today. And I think that the gesture is so much more than what the package actually is, and appreciate that we're still doing this. Thank you.
Want to go? I'll go.
Go ahead.
Okay. Wow, powerful. And thank you for being here today. And it means a lot to have somebody here firsthand with our current endeavors overseas. And I know that it means a lot to many, many people. We've seen people out thanking the military, and no more kicking the can down the road. And we're blessed. I certainly praying for huge successes in the region and in Iran. So thank you so much for being here today. And thank you, Jenny, and everybody here at Tango Mike for what you've done for so many years. And I know I had mentioned last year, both my father and my son are veterans of overseas. And my son was in when we were in Afghanistan. So, and was affected over there. So thank you so much for being here and for all that you do.
Supervisor Pyska.
I'm really grateful that you're all here today and that we continue to do this proclamation. We send this and we send our Christmas cards. This is bringing a lot back for me, because when my brother was serving and I would send packages before Tango Mike, before you started this service, Jenny, and I know how much it meant for our family and for families now for this comfort. So thank you.
And lastly, I appreciate everybody's comments, and just thank you, Tango Mike, for all of your efforts. I know there's been hundreds of volunteers probably over the years. I don't know exactly how many, but it's been a long time. Appreciate the work, and we're happy to continue to support however we can. Thank you.
I have one more. Jenny, can you let us know how we can be a volunteer? That might be something where to meet, how to contact, and when your packing parties are. That might be important. You might get some new blood.
We have what we call a packing party, and we call it a party because we do make it a good time. We have a lot of fun. We do 100 care packages in about 45 minutes, so it doesn't take a whole lot of your evening. Third Thursday of every month at 6 p.m., and I still want to call it Umpqua Bank. It's now branded as Columbia Bank. It's on 11th Street right by Round Table Pizza, so there's your landmark. And the one time there's an exception is every March. We begin at 5 p.m. So on the 19th of this month, we will have an open house from 5 to 6. We have catered food available that's been donated, so come have a meal with us, come see what we do, get acquainted, look at our photo boards and 23 years worth of binders of thank you notes from troops and photos they've sent us. And we've been invited to baby showers and weddings and all kinds of things. We have a lot of extended family out there in the world that Lake County has touched. So 6 p.m. normally, the third Thursday of every month, 5 p.m. on March 19th. So come see us and you can lend a hand and we can find a way for you to help if you want to. And if you're out there listening and you can't come to the packing parties, if you want to write cards and letters, we love to send correspondence and the troops love to get it. So it doesn't have to be a physical or financial commitment. If you want to help, we'll find a way. And you can reach me at 707-349-2838 if you need to ask a question.
All right.
Thank you. Do we have any members of the public that wish to comment on this item? None in the room, none online. And we'll go ahead and get a picture, Sam. Thank you. We're going to move on to our 9:15 item, our 6.6 item. Consideration of a letter of support for the Lake County Conservation, Restoration, and Stewardship Improvement Capacity Building Project of the Lake County Land Trust, and authorize the chair to sign. I'll start this item. Basically what this is a letter of support for a land trust project that they have submitted or will be submitting to the Blue Ribbon Commission for the rehabilitation of Clear Lake, I believe at our next meeting on the 27th of March. So with that, the letter and the project synopsis were in your packages, and I'll see if board members have any questions. Not seeing any concern at this point. I'll go ahead and open it up to the public if we have anyone that wants to comment on this item. No hands on Zoom, nothing in the room. I'll bring it back to the board for a
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the letter of support for the Lake County Conservation, Restoration, and Stewardship Improvement Capacity Building Project of the Lake County Land Trust and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Thank you. And with that, I'm going to take a short 5-minute break.
Tell her something, because I'm tired of her saying
The meeting back to order, and we're going to move on to our 6.7, 9:30 item, which is public hearing, request for a hearing on the cannabis cultivation tax bill appeal UP 20-13 at 3360 Merritt Road in Kelseyville, California. And the first order of business is going to be swearing in anyone that is here to provide testimony on this item. So if you're online, you'll need to raise your hand so the board clerk can identify and see you. And if you're in the room, you're going to need to stand and be sworn at this time.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And with this appeal, we're going to start with our tax collector to present the details of this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this appeal is regarding UP 2013 and regarding its cannabis cultivation tax bill. The cultivation tax bill was determined based off the permitted square footage through the Community Development Department. Treasurer Tax Collector's Office issued the bill, which is our normal practice, and we had not had any contact regarding either opting out of cultivation or reducing the cultivation area size. It's been brought to our attention by Mr. Hansen that this was an oversight on his part, that my understanding is that he didn't realize he needed to submit again for the following year. There was a submittal in 2024, but not in 2025. And it is an annual requirement, and it is presented as part of the packet. I think what's unusual in this case that I should just identify from the outset is our office does not believe that he cultivated any cannabis on the site during this time. That's unusual, and most of our appeals, most of the decisions that we look at, typically we have found that there is evidence of cultivation. Here, we have no reason to doubt his claims that he did not cultivate. So I think that's an important distinction. Often that is something that we can work with, but it's also unusual in this case because Mr. Hansen took the property back from a former occupant, Mr. Gustafson, and after Mr. Hansen took control of the property, he did not intend to cultivate any longer, is our understanding. He does not wish to actually use the permit. So normally they would expire. And I think that's the direction, the other oddity, that seems to be the direction the county's heading in. I believe what the board is considering and for future use is that these permits, if there's 2 years of opting out, the permit would become inactive or it would expire. Certainly that's a proposal that's been discussed. So given the unusual nature of this, that he did not cultivate, yet wants to keep the permit active but not use it, there wasn't really any grounds for our office to grant any kind of relief here, which is why we did recommend that he appeal to the Board of Supervisors. So that it was upon that recommendation that he then filed the appeal. And I'm happy to answer any other questions or provide further detail now, but I think that's the relevant background.
Okay, so at this point you submitted what evidence you wish in this case.
Yes, I would incorporate the files that we included with the memorandum that are available online in Granicus. I would request that all of those be incorporated into the record.
Okay, thank you. Then at this point, we'll go ahead and allow the appellant to present their facts and information. And please state your name for the record.
Oh, well. Yeah, my name is Greg Hansen. Good morning, everyone. I got a little, just my statement here. I've been a farmer in Lake County for over 40 years, and first pears, and then when pears tanked financially in the late 90s, I transitioned to grapes. You know, and in an attempt to you know, as I was approaching my 70s, in my attempt to get away from farming after 40 years, I sold my farm, but had to, the situation was I had to carry a promissory note to accomplish the sale. The new buyer built some greenhouses, and went to the trouble of receiving, the long process of receiving a permit to grow cannabis. Unfortunately, cannabis prices collapsed, and the new buyer quit paying for the property, which since was the basis of my whole retirement, you know, I didn't really have much of a choice. I had to foreclose and take the property back. And I, you know, at the time I was living in Bend, Oregon, where I have son and grandkids, and anyhow, I understood that keeping the permit in my name would possibly make the resale of my property, you know, help facilitate that. So with the help of the county, and we transferred the permit into my name. There has never been any cannabis grown on the property. So in going forward, you know, I'm hoping to keep the permit active, which is, you know, is some expense to me, and hoping that it will help facilitate the sale of the property in the future. I've been in communication with the staff regarding my property, both personally and through my son Brian, who's a local CHP officer here in town. I informed the staff there's no cultivation ongoing, and actually, you know, the annual cultivation inspection report by Mary Claybon, which she filled out, and I was in communication with her last summer during that time, and she filled it out and actually visually inspected the property and confirmed that there was nothing grown. So anyhow, that's my story. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Robert Riggs. My address is 9779 Broadmoor Way in Kelseyville. And I'm representing Mr. Hanson. I've submitted the appeal as a letter. We attached Ms. Claybon's report. I mean, just very, very briefly, that Mr. Hanson did inform the county. It's stated in 2024 that he wasn't engaging in any cultivation, although the permit was being kept active. From 2025, he didn't realize that there could be a renewal of that required. He did stay in communication. He obviously informed the staff, and that's why that Ms. Claybon came out to verify that there was no cultivation. So we think he did comply with the spirit of the ordinance by informing the county, I'm not growing. And so he's asking that this appeal be sustained and that he not have to pay the special cultivation tax for 2025. That's what's really in front of you.
Thank you.
And I'm here to answer any questions.
Are there any questions of the board at this time? Not seeing any, I'll ask, does that conclude any evidence you wanted to present in this situation?
That plus the letter we already submitted, yes.
And we do have that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any rebuttal from staff regarding evidence presented by the appellant?
Yes, I think in terms of the facts, we're pretty much in agreement. I don't think anyone's really disputing any of the facts at issue here. One concern I would have, if your board does choose to offer relief in this matter, is just clarifying that this is a unique circumstance that is, you know, different than others. We have been very tight on granting any kind of relief in these matters, and since this is somewhat unusual, if your board is going to go in that direction, I would recommend that you identify the grounds for it and limited in scope.
Okay. Appellant, do you have any further rebuttal to offer to what our tax collector just stated?
Well, I think it needs to be rebutted. We're asking for the position's been taken, only the board can grant this, and I think Mr. Sullivan very forthrightly described that he even recommended this appeal. So there's nothing to rebut, but thank you very much.
Thank you. Then I'll go ahead and bring it back to the board for questions or discussion, and we're going to start. What was that? Oh, we have a hand. Do we have testimony online? She was sworn in, and I believe there was nothing further offered. Just to clarify, she would still have the opportunity to provide comments when I get to that point. But at this point, we'll go ahead with the Supervisor Sabatier.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that it's necessarily a unique circumstance, but I know that you inherited a situation that I know you're not the only one who inherited this situation. I think the individual that you had to get your property back from had 10 or 12 other projects, and I think every single one of them fell through and had some problems. So I think that is part of the situation that you're trying to come back through. My only problem, and I don't know that we can solve it here, I think we can solve it in our later item, is the deadline means nothing if we just say we're fine. And so I would like to, and I'm going to bring it up here, I know I talked to Mr. Guintavano, it's appropriate to bring it up here. If you are past the deadline of opting out, there should be a fee or a fine or a penalty for changing your mind after the fact, because it takes staff time. How much staff time did it take to get this appeal to the Board of Supervisors? That's money that taxpayers paid for this process because an individual missed out on the opportunity to get things done timely. So I would like to see that change, because I'm not in the habit of wanting to tax people for something they didn't do. I just don't think, I think that's inappropriate. So I don't want to see this gentleman have to pay a bill that he didn't do anything for. But at the same time, if there's going to be a deadline, it needs to mean something. And right now it means nothing, because there's no penalty if you didn't grow and you say, well, I didn't grow. Okay, you didn't. Now you're free and clear. The deadline has to mean something, and there has to be a penalty if somebody changes their mind after the fact. And also, I know that Mr. Sullivan and I spoke. People, not this situation specifically, but people use this as a game to try to figure out how they can try to sneak through the system and not have to pay their full share. So I hope to have that conversation later, but at this moment in time, I think that the only option that's available to us, and making that the potentially unique circumstance of having to recoup his property due to the unfortunate actor that was involved previously, would hopefully give you that not very broad precedent, but somewhat unique precedent to be able to follow.
Okay, where I'm at with this, having reviewed all of the documents and hearing the testimony, I think Mr. Hansen's intent was to try to work with the county and let them know he wasn't going to grow. He didn't check a box on a form and submit it by the deadline, but we also have, there's no evidence that anything was ever grown there. He didn't intend to grow. I think he wanted to keep the license active for potential resale of the property. So I'm in favor of relief on this one because of those circumstances. Don't disagree with Supervisor's comments about fixing that situation later, but in this situation here, what we're dealing with today, the option would be to charge the tax or not, I think, and that's where I sit based on all the circumstances. Is there any further comments from board members? Not seeing any, then you go ahead, sorry.
I'm hard to see. Okay, so I believe intent here is worthy. However, I'm wondering, when you were speaking with Mrs. Claybon, was that in 2025? And was that prior to the deadline? I mean, for the filing? Because I thought I had read some of this, and now I can't find it. I'm having trouble with internet.
Yeah, I believe it was in 2025, and I was in contact with her during that time for the. I think there's actually a requirement where there's a physical inspection.
Yes.
Yeah, and she communicated with me. I communicated with her about doing that, and it was accomplished, and she went out and saw that there was obviously no cannabis.
No, grow, right. But prior to that, were you in communication with her prior to the deadline? Because that would have been probably after the deadline, correct? That she had came out to inspect.
I think it probably was, but
Okay.
I'm up there in Bend, and I'm trying to pretend like I'm retired, but I'm really not.
Sure, sure. Okay.
And my head was a little bit in the sand, and I just I
Missed it.
I missed the opt out.
Yeah.
And I know Mary Claiborne, when I came in to talk to her, and she pointed that out to me. It's like, whoops,
And you had opted out the year before.
I didn't see that box to check.
Okay. Did it have anything to do with you opting out the year before? You thought it was done, or did you know you had to do it every year?
Boy, I don't remember.
Okay, all right, all right. I do agree that something, as Supervisor Sabatier had mentioned, that there needs to be something to cover staff time, et cetera, some kind of penalty. However, I too feel that I believe it was in good intention.
Yeah.
And so I can support that on this particular one, but like you said, it's kind of a different circumstance.
Yeah.
So it doesn't need to open the door, but I do believe there needs to be some kind of penalties to help cover staff time, et cetera.
Sure, I don't
When there's
disagree with that. I mean, it's just that the penalty for missing that little checkout box
Is full,
was
100%.
like, you guys realize how much that tax bill was?
Yes,
I was like,
26,000.
oh my goodness.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Especially when grape prices are in the tank, and
Yeah.
that would be a hard bill to cover.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. I don't know if it's possible to do a small percentage to cover costs of it, or no? Is it that legal or not legal?
We have a question for County Council.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
Thank you, Mr.
Go ahead.
Chair. So I don't believe it's specifically addressed in the ordinance.
It's not.
So there wouldn't be anything with that it would be based on for that type of proposal. Unless, of course, that's something that can be presented technically as evidence before your board or by way of a proposal to your board in a manner of granting the appeal in part or denying the appeal in part, or maybe pursuant to a stipulation, just speaking strictly from procedure, on a procedural basis here. But it does not appear that that is being presented to your board. I'm looking at Treasurer Tax Collector Sullivan. At this point, it sounds like the proposal here, or
Sure.
from either side, there seems to be some indication or some reference that, and it was raised by your board, that these are limited circumstances, which would result in, if your board were to decide to grant the appeal, it would be based on those limited scope of findings.
Right, I just didn't know if we had the flexibility to say a 90% or whatever reduction, just to cover staff time, basically. So I wasn't sure if we had that flexibility to be able to still have something to cover our staff time.
That can always be a part of your board's decision, but it would not be based on the provisions of the ordinance itself, because it's not addressed in.
No, I read it last night, the provisions. Thank you. Okay?
Supervisor Sabatier.
And trust me, I have had a penalty. I've had a couple months to stress about this and worry about it, and had hiring Robert to come help me, because this is an important thing,
Yeah.
obviously.
Sure.
So I've definitely paid a penalty, which I will check that box in the future, trust me.
Yes.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Supervisor Sabatier.
Yeah, I just wanted to, since it was brought up, the inspection date that we were discussing was on August 7th, 2025, so after the deadline for the filing.
All right, is there any further comments or questions from board members at this point? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for any public comment. I'm not sure if Mary's hand raised, if she intends to speak still, but we're open for any further comment at this point. Not seeing any movement, then I'll bring it. Was there anything, Johanna? Okay, I'll bring it back to the board for further deliberation.
I have one more question. Good thing I didn't put
Go
this
ahead.
down.
Go ahead.
Mary Claybon, do we have any type of idea of how many hours have been spent on this?
Hi, good morning, board. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning, Mary Claybon, Senior Planner, Community Development Department. There has been a significant amount of staff time that is put into the opt-out and request to reduce programs. I did want to answer your question, but I wanted to also provide some background for this. Annual compliance monitoring notifications are sent to all permittees in two separate forms. This includes the fees, the performance report metrics, and site visit requirements. Additionally, we also include the opt-out of cultivation form, the request to reduce canopy form, and the Ag Pass program form. These are all voluntary programs for the last three. So notification was sent
I hate
via
to interrupt,
email.
but I have a point of
Go
order.
ahead.
Mr. Guintavano, don't we need to have cameras on? That either we need to be in the room or we need to have cameras on. Just trying to remember my Brown Act training. It's been a little while, but I feel uncomfortable about the no camera.
Ms. Claiborne was sworn in. That could be your board's preference, and there she is.
There she is.
Perfect.
Okay, go ahead and
Good morning. Thank you.
continue.
Sure. So notification was sent via email to all permittees for the contact information we have on file on April 4th, 2025. Notification was also sent via US mail to all permittees' addresses on file on or about May 1st, 2025. For this particular project, MUP 2013, we did receive an opt-out for 2024. However, we did not receive one for 2025. The contact information on hand on file was verified in early January when Mr. Hansen came into the Community Development Department and had requested further information on how to appeal cannabis cultivation taxes. So there were a couple of different notations that he had received notification and that he had overlooked it. It is important to note that this project, as far as I know, and I've been with the Community Development Department now, this is going on my 6th season, has never cultivated cannabis during that time. The project has remained active within the program because Mr. Hansen schedules his site visits, he pays his compliance monitoring fees, but there is no cultivation tax, so to speak, because there hasn't been cultivation taxes. So this becomes an issue where we need to identify as to whether paying the fees and going through the processes of the site visit constitutes a project that's still valid, or whether we're reaching an expiration of 2 years of inactivity.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I don't believe there was anyone else in the room or online that wishes to comment. So we're back to the board. Go ahead, Supervisor.
And
Go ahead.
And I think there's a problem to solve. I think there seems to be that conversation can occur later. I think taking the not easy route, I don't mean that way, but taking the not setting a precedent of just randomly choosing what we feel is the right number, rather than setting a number by working with staff so that in the future we're not sitting there with zero or the full tax. Since I believe it's in your district,
It
if you're
is.
comfortable with moving forward, I'm comfortable with making a motion.
Okay. Go ahead.
Did he want
And
to speak?
Did you want to make a comment?
I just wanted to pass along something Ms. Claiborne also mentioned, that Mr. Hansen did pay the annual fee to keep this registered, and that's over $1,000. So I think that did something to offset the administrative costs. I just want to make sure you know that.
Thank you. Yes, and I'm ready if there's nothing. Supervisor?
Yeah, I just want to state for the record that I apologize. I understand the circumstances, but I've been in contact with so many different people that have had situations where they need waivers or anything of the like and have not been given the opportunity. So I can't support, I can't support the appeal. I'd have to support to deny it, so.
Okay, Supervisor On, did you have something further?
Oh,
No, okay. Then I believe we're ready for possible action.
And Mr. Guintivano, please correct me if I'm incorrect, but I move to approve the appeal on the Cannabis Cultivation Tax Bill Appeal UP 20-13, 3360 Merritt Road, Kelseyville, on the with the reason being due to the circumstances of the foreclosure and I'll leave it at that, and the hardship that created.
Mr. Guintivano?
Yes, so thank you, Mr. Chair. So if I may, just for further clarification on that motion language, it's granting the appeal of Gregory K. Hansen under UP 20-13, and part of the motion would be to rescind the 2025 cannabis tax bill, which is the relief that's being requested. In addition to the findings that was submitted, your board may consider, because it was made a part of the discussion here as part of the limited scope, limited circumstances in making such a motion to grant the appeal. Evidence was demonstrated, there was sufficient evidence that there was no, presented to your board that there was no cultivation of cannabis in 2025. Board may want to consider that as a finding. And also there's been testimony by the appellant that sufficiently demonstrates by way of evidence his no intent to grow, that he had no intent to grow in 2025. Just to add to the limited findings.
You said it so much better than I did. So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
That motion carries 4-1, and that concludes this item. Next, we're going to move on to our 9:45 item, which is a public hearing. Request for a hearing on cannabis cultivation tax bill appeal, UP 19-48 at 1756 Augulin Canyon Road in Clear Lake, California. And at this point, I'll ask all parties from the appellant and staff, whether here in the room or online, to stand if you're here, raise your hand if you're online, to be sworn in to provide testimony in this matter.
Want me to go check outside real quick?
Could the person on Zoom, whose username is Zoom user, identify themselves?
Zoom user, can you identify yourself? Are you here for this public hearing?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My name is Kenneth Pacheco. I am the owner of Blue Oak Farms and the owner of this project.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, with your right hand raised, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay, we'll start with the tax collector's office to present evidence and testimony on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is the appeal for UP 1948. Mr. Pacheco contacted our office indicating that he was not able to use the entire cultivation area, and he requested a reduction down to 25%. That reduction was untimely. He contacted us after the deadline, and so that request was denied by our office. When we look at some of the documents that are attached to this file, we would request that all of these documents be incorporated into the record today. But these documents include a site map, satellite imagery. They do appear to indicate that there was cultivation activity across the entire span of the property. So I'm not entirely sure I understand the basis for Mr. Pacheco's appeal. Our cannabis tax ordinance is written very broadly. Cultivation, can simply be planting. It's really any act in furtherance of that cultivation constitutes a taxable activity for our office. So even if in the end crops weren't used across the entire area or harvested, it does appear that there was activity across the entire site. So from our office's perspective, we would not grant any kind of relief. On top of that, we have other indicators. There's records and metric, the state system that we have access to that show activity consistent with this. We're not finding any basis in which we would grant relief, and we haven't granted relief in other similar circumstances. So I'm happy to answer any other questions, but that's our office's position.
Okay. Are there any questions from the board of the tax collector at this point? Supervisor Sabatier?
Brief question. When was this approved? Do you know
The
when
permit?
the permit was approved?
The
I know
original
when it was
approval,
turned in because it's 19, but
yeah, the original approval date, CDD would probably be best able to answer that question. I don't know. Otherwise, we can try to get that.
I think I can clarify a little bit.
Okay, hang on one second. So,
There's the cultivation license.
what was that?
There's also that Mr. Pacheco acquired this property, I believe, and when he's up, he may be able to speak to this more, but he bought out the previous LLC in 2024. So this permit goes back to a period before he was operating, prior to 2024. So that may be important for your board to get further information on.
Okay.
Yeah, the cultivation license from the state is November 29th, 2024.
Okay. All right, so at this point, we'll go ahead and call on the appellant to present their facts and evidence in this case.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. Like stated, I purchased the property as a distress sale because the previous owner was not, maintaining their due diligence with their payments. And this was my first year cultivating on that property. I acquired the property in 2024, but it took us a year to get all the licensing and everything in place. As far as for the reduction for the 25% of usage, the reason the property wasn't able to be grown on in the past is because it is riddled with blue oak trees, which gives us the name Blue Oak Farms. And we're not able to cultivate on the whole property. The property's not, even the cultivation area is not able to be utilized at 100% utility rate. We cultivate in tanks, and our approximate usage of the property of the cultivation area is only 25%. It is literally impossible for us to cultivate inside the whole square footage that is permitted to us by the county and by the state. That is why I asked for the reduction in taxes, because especially with the prices of cannabis at the moment, there is no way that we would be able to fulfill the obligation of $40,000 or, the expense of that property. That's why I'm asking for a consideration of reduction.
Okay, does that conclude your statement at this point?
Yes.
Do you have any other witnesses or evidence to present?
No.
Okay. Mary has her hand up, but I'm going to hang on a second and turn it over to see if there's any rebuttal at this point first from the tax collector.
We don't have anything further to add. We would stand by our original position.
Okay. All right. Then I'm going to go ahead and open that up for any further comments. And Mary, do you want to make a statement?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm turning my video now. So UP 1948 was originally approved on September 23rd, 2021. There was a transfer of use permit that had been recorded on September 11th, 2024. And that also included the compliance monitoring requirements with opt-out of cultivation and request to reduce canopy requirements at that time. In 2024, there was no cultivation. There was also no opt-out received. In 2025, there was cultivation with no submission. There is a mechanism that we can utilize for this project, which would be a minor modification to permanently reduce the square footage of canopy for what is able to be grown without the tree removal in accordance with the initial study in the CEQA that had been conducted for this project. Kenneth Pacheco has spoken with this department regularly, so he should be aware that there are requirements with compliance monitoring, including submitting documents timely. He did follow up with several email requests for assistance to this, and I think ultimately a modification to permanently reduce the cannabis canopy would be something that we could do to move forward at this point, but it will not change the current tax bill. That's up to you guys. So I just wanted to provide that information for this project as well.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else in the room or online who wishes to comment on this item?
May I comment once more? I'm sorry.
Yes, seeing no other further comments, I'll bring it back and go ahead, Mr. Pacheco.
Yes, sir. No, I just wanted to state that the tax for this property, just because it's not able to be fully cultivated, would be detrimental to this company and to me. I was able to pick up this project, which was a failed project by another individual, and turn it into something that can create revenue for, Lake County. And at this point, we wouldn't survive this tax. Just we didn't make almost any profit last year. We're just able to sustain our family with the money that we're making. So I think moving forward, I will work closely with Mary. She's very familiar with me. I try to be as active as possible. Unfortunately, last year I had a death in the family, and I put consultants in place, and I left the workers in place because it was our first year and I haven't seen money from this project. I've just been investing and investing. I wanted to see some type of return. Which is why I hastily moved towards working towards this project while I was out of the country. And obviously, it came with its fair shares of mistakes, which I will not make again. But I would like for you to consider that I definitely would not be able to cover this tax, and I think it would be a failed project on my end. And the county would not see revenue for some time to come, because I don't know too many people in the market right now who are looking to pick up big projects like this that that can leave revenue in the future.
Thank you. Mr. Sullivan, anything further?
No, nothing further to add.
Okay, bring it back to the board for comments or deliberations. Go ahead, Supervisor Sabatier.
So I'm looking at imagery here that came from the satellite imagery. I'm going to ask both our tax collector and the appellant. The title of the satellite is UP 1948, and then states the month of April of 2025. Is that, I just want to make sure, is that a picture of satellite imagery from April 2025?
Yeah, the date of attribution is April 13th, 2025.
Okay. What I'm seeing is cultivation in April, because I see what appears to be very nice line of trees. There's some greenhouses that are still put up. Mr. Pacheco, can you speak to the satellite imagery that we're looking at? I don't know if we need to share it on the screen with you. It's on our agenda. It's attached to the file that we were provided in order to prepare for this meeting. What am I looking at if it's not cannabis grow?
I can't see the imagery, but we did cultivate last year. I'm asking for a reduction of size because like I said, the property has trees, and we grow inside drums, and we're not utilizing the full potential of the property. According to our calculation, we're only using 22.7% of the property to grow on. So I'm asking for a reduction to 25% usage of the grow area. But as far as the imagery, I can't tell because I cannot see the imagery that you guys see.
Did you have 2 seasons last year?
Last year, I believe, in what sense? Did we have 2 harvests?
Yes.
I believe we did.
Okay, because April's real early. That's why I was figuring that was an early harvest.
Yeah.
so-
But towards the ending of the year, we got rain early, so we lost out on a lot of our outdoor crop, rotted away. So I guess it made up for it. But, you know, we have to be as creative as possible, especially with the climate right now. Prices are at $250 to $300 a pound. And then what we use on generators and water and, you know, feeding everyone, and then licensing, you know, you guys, apart from paying for the county, pay for state, and it's a lot.
So appreciate the response. I do have a question about the 2 seasons. I will say, looking at your site plan versus the imagery, the northeast corner does not look to be, but that's not 25%. The rest is sprinkled with plants everywhere with some greenhouses. So I'm okay with looking at a specific little amount of reduction, which I'm sure we could figure out what that acreage is. It looks like you were approved for 2.05. That looks to be anywhere between half an acre to 2/3 of an acre on the northeast side. I just don't see any harvesting happening there. So I'd be okay with that. But a quick question for Mr. Sullivan. The way the tax works is it accrues upon planting. If you plant twice, are there 2 tax bills?
So it's an annual basis. So if you were to put plants in the ground on December 31st, you would receive the full tax bill. Whether the plants were to go in the ground January 1st of the year or December 31, that single act of activity creates that bill for the year. And
So it doesn't matter if you have 3 seasons in that 1 year, as long as it's between January 1st and December 31st, it's a one-time accrual of taxes based on the largest amount of acreage that was harvested or planted or whatever, cultivated.
correct. And I think the difference you're accounting for there perhaps is that's why mixed light and indoor has a higher rate. It was anticipation of people having more grow cycles, whereas outdoor, generally 1 or 2 is probably the most you're going to get.
And so, again, I would suggest that the upper northeast section is very obviously not harvested. The rest, I am not going to go here and start measuring out how many different plants and starting to carve out a 4x4 for each plant. I think that if you're getting in the business and you anticipate getting a bill for, and I'm sorry, I don't have the bill right in front of me, for a large number, I think it was 20-something thousand.
28, I think.
What was that, a double?
45,738.
So it was $45,000, then I would make sure and let people know that I'm not using the full property, not being late on that. And again, I think we should really need to talk about the penalty for being late, which we're not going to do right now. But again, if we can get a measurement of acreage of what that little northeast section is, Mr. Sullivan, I'd be willing to drop that, but it's not 75% off of what the $45,000 bill is. I want to be fair, because again, I don't believe in taxing something that did not happen, but I'm also not going to carve out where there's plants all over the rest of the property. That's just my opinion.
Do you want to comment on that?
If I could respond to that, I think one of the difficulties in these appeals for us is that we're often limited in the amount of evidence that we have. That's part of the reason that we insisted on these deadlines. We're fortunate to have satellite imagery in some cases and metric data in others, but sometimes we don't have satellite data. The fact is, often people make the assertion that they didn't cultivate. When we go and look at the satellite imagery, similar to what we're seeing here, there's obviously massive cultivation activity. So we have no idea if later this other part of the property was used, or if previously in the year it had been used. So that gets back into why we're trying to honor that deadline. I think earlier the appeal your board saw was so unusual that there was the complete absence of activity. That is not the case in every other appeal, every other investigation our office has had to do. So I would be gravely concerned about trying to dig into the measurement of a corner of the property that wasn't used. This is exactly what these deadlines were meant to prevent. They got the permit to use the whole area, indicating their intent to do so. We really need to hear from them that they're not going to. CDD only inspects 1 time a year. We really don't get a chance to go out and look at places again. And we have encountered that where people have used a much larger area at one point earlier in the season. And then later, by the time of inspection, it is a much smaller, reduced space. And we just frankly don't have the resources to really monitor that. So I just wanted to highlight that if we get into that, we don't have the resources to manage a program like that at this time.
Supervisor Pyska?
I'm not in favor of granting this appeal or any reduction. We have evidence that there was cultivation in April. We don't know, for all the reasons our tax collector just explained. We don't know what happened later in the summer. If if the canopy area needs to be reevaluated with CDD, that's the direction. But I think this sets a very dangerous precedent of having to evaluate every single tax bill that we get coming forward, and I'm not okay with that.
Thank you, Supervisor Owen.
Jessica just said it.
Okay.
I'm done.
All right. I believe there was no further comments. I closed that. It was at the board for deliberation, so that's where we are. Go ahead, Supervisor.
Just a final comment. I appreciate the comments, and you're right, I'm only looking at April. I have nothing to prove other than this inspection report that says it matches the site plan. So, appreciate the conversation and ready to move forward.
All right, we're ready for action.
Can you please help me out so I don't butcher it like last time? And to deny the appeal is the direction I am planning to go.
Go ahead, County Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the language to deny the appeal for your board's consideration would be to move to deny the appeal of Mr. Kenneth Pacheco under UP 19-48 and uphold the 2025 cannabis cultivation tax bill in the amount of $45,738. That's on the tax bill. That's what I'm basing that on. And the part of the findings would be based on the testimony and the evidence that was submitted to your board, including but not limited to adequate evidence, your board's determination and finding that adequate evidence, there is adequate evidence that demonstrate that the appellant did not file a timely request to reduce the cultivation area.
I second that.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I meant so moved before that. I apologize for the silence.
Yeah, that was.
Aye.
I saw this.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries 5-0. And that concludes that item.
I figured you were sign language.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to our 6.9 item, our 10 a.m. item, which is consideration of a joint letter advocating for opportunity zones selection. And we have our Deputy Administrator Economic Development here, Ben Rickelman, to present. That's yours. Yeah.
Good morning, Board. Ben Rickelman, Deputy County Administrative Officer. I was here in February to talk about the opportunity zones. This is the second round of the program and was given direction to provide some priority regarding the eligible census tracts in Lake County. So, and I've been in conversations with the City of Lakeport and the City of Clear Lake, with the city managers here today, which we greatly appreciate. So through those conversations, we've prioritized them. And so I was just going to give, for the public and the board, again, just a quick overview of the program and then talk about those census tracts. So again, just the process. The governor, through the federal legislation, sends a list of census tracts, and it's 25%, up to 25%. of the eligible tracts for the state to the Treasury, the federal Treasury. And for California, the governor can select up to 620 of the eligible census tracts. And so with that, needs to be zoomed out a little bit, but this 2.0 would take effect in the beginning of next year, and there would be a 2-year overlap with the existing opportunity zones and what people are calling opportunity zones 2.0. There's several tax advantages to the program. They're all through the federal tax code. The biggest one is the permanent exclusion. So for there's a opportunity zone fund and then capital gains that go into that fund that are then in an investment that are held for at least 10 years. In any capital gain on that investment, there's no federal capital gains tax applied to that. So there's 9 eligible census tracts in Lake County. How the program is set up for areas that are not in what the Census Bureau calls metro areas. It's census tracts that are at or below 70% of the statewide median family income and or has a federal poverty rate above 20% and a median family income below around 120%. So here's a map of the 9 eligible census tracts. The color differentiation is in the joint lever. We have 2 levels of priority. The orange is the top level, and then the teal is the second. We do state in the level we are advocating that all 9 would be selected, but we know it's a competitive process. The governor can only choose 25%. So then it was a conversation, well, how do we prioritize? And so certain factors of what is the likelihood of kind of large scale development that would take advantage of this, that this would actually move the needle. So just thinking through possible projects in these areas. And I will say also with the new program, or I should say the new round, there's now this substantial improvement threshold that's been lowered. It used to be 100%, so you had to increase the value of the property by at least 100%. So that usually just means greenfield construction. But now with this 50%, you could see like a substantial renovation qualify. So if we were to proceed with this joint letter, the city of Lakeport and the city of Clear Lake would still need to approve it. But I think there's broad agreement between the 3 jurisdictions, so happy to take any questions.
Okay. Do we have any questions from board members at this point?
I called and asked. I talked with him. He called me and we talked.
Okay. So hearing none, I'll go ahead and open it up to the public.
The reason we talked is because I was concerned because, of course, in District 3, Nice is kind of like Lucerne. Everyone kind of sees that, but at the same time, that's not for us. It's not our decision. It's the way that the federal government recognizes it. So it's not something that we have control over. So that was my question. That was my gripe.
Thank you. Supervisor Sabatier?
Just to respond to that, is that because that same census tract covers Upper Lake? Because I know Upper Lake is has a different like household income than some of the other surrounding areas.
So Nice and Lucerne are in separate census tracts, and Lucerne is in an eligible census tract, and Nice is not.
No, I get that, but is it because the census tract itself that Nice belongs to also has Upper Lake in it? Because I know that there is
Correct.
quite a difference in the household income when it comes to Upper Lake.
Yeah, so it's the median family income for the entire census tract. So since Upper Lake and Nice are in the same one, it's above that 70% threshold.
Is that why there's nothing in D1?
Correct.
Okay. So.
That's a good thing.
Okay, we'll go ahead and open it up to the public. Is there anyone in the room?
Board Chair Rasmussen, board members, appreciate the opportunity to speak today. Appreciate the intent of collaboration from the board when this was discussed last time, and the opportunity to meet with Mr. Rickelman and discuss this. Just a couple of things. Obviously, as he mentioned, we support the proposal as submitted and hope that we can issue a joint letter. There are really essentially 5 census tracts that cover the city of Clear Lake. 3 of them are already in the opportunity zones. We'd like to include those. There are proposed large projects in each of those. And one of those is in District 1, Supervisor Owens. So anyway, just hope you support this and appreciate the collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair Rasmussen, honorable members of the board, Kevin Ingram, City Manager at the City of Lakeport, here today to express the City of Lakeport support for the draft letter requesting the governor's consideration of the recommended opportunity zones. Very appreciative of Ben's leadership on this and bringing this forward to you guys today. We're particularly encouraged that the federal government has reopened the opportunity zones designation process. It provides communities like ours another opportunity to participate. Lakeport was not originally included in the previous kind of opportunities 1.0 designation process, so we appreciate this opportunity to kind of revisit this topic overall. We believe the list of recommended census tracts reflects a balanced kind of regional approach. In my discussions with City Manager Floor over there in Clear Lake, who's been his area has been involved in this program for a little bit longer, the real value here, even though we haven't had a lot of direct interest directly in the opportunity zones, is just bringing investors to the table. So I'm hopeful that by getting on this list and having a more kind of regional aspect that kind of takes in the whole county, that this will hopefully bring in other investors who will be looking around and excited about opportunities that might even fall outside of the designated census tract that are involved directly in it. So that's my hope. It's, as Ben's kind of said, it's ultimately encouraging private capital investment to local job centers, housing, and business development, which we all know we can benefit from. And if the board decides to move forward with this today, we'll certainly get this onto a city council meeting in the very near future to sign on as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else in the room who wishes to speak? Not seeing any in the room. Anyone online? No hands. I'll bring it back to the board for any final discussion or possible action. Supervisor Sabatier.
While parts of the letter hurt me to read, I appreciate the usage of the state's language requesting equitable support from the state for the needs of Lake County to rise. And so I appreciate the language that was used in there. And if there's nothing further, I move to approve the joint letter advocating for opportunity zone selection and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Next, we're going to move on to our 6.10 item, 1030 item, presentation by Rural County Representatives of California, RCRC, regarding 2026 strategic plan and legislative platform.
Yeah.
Supervisor Crandall, do you want to open this?
Yes, I'll open this up. We have President Pat Blacklock here to give the report and the presentation on Rural County Representatives of California. I've been on that board since I started serving as a county supervisor, and I enjoy going there. We have a lot of advocacy when it comes to the staff that works there, and then I think ever since I started, Pat was the president right off the get, right? So he's been doing a great job, and I'll let him explain how he's been doing a great job with the staff and whatnot. So, floor's yours. Sorry, Chair.
No, it's okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Supervisor Crandall and board members for the opportunity to be here today. As Supervisor Crandall knows, it's a special treat for me to be here. I've long had a connection with Lake County, including having lived in Nice and worked in the pear sheds. So it's, as I say, I'm happy to be here today. I know you've got a full agenda, so I'm going to try to move fairly swiftly through the presentation. That said, I would invite you to stop me anywhere along the way where you've got a question or feedback. Part of the value for us in coming out and doing these is to hear what's on your mind. So please don't hesitate to do that. And today I'll provide an overview of RCRC, the Rural County Representatives of California. We are a nonprofit mutual benefit organization made up of 40 rural California counties, including Lake County, governed by a county supervisor from each, and we do two things. One is we're your advocate in Sacramento and in Washington, D.C., and secondly, think of us as the entrepreneurial arm of rural counties. When there's a challenge too big for a small county to handle their own, they come to us to see if they can get economies of scale through 40, and over the years, that's led to creation of a number of both private and public entities to do that work. So today I'll cover a little bit of both. I don't know if I can control the slides. Okay, next slide. So we are in the second year of our 3-year strategic plan, and this slide just gives you a summary of it. I'm hopeful that the topics on it aren't a surprise and are what you would expect to see. I'll touch on a few today, from health services to local control, particularly on the focus on mandates. I'll talk about our forest resilience efforts, and then, again, as I say, happy to talk on topics of interest to you if you go to the next slide. The next slide gives you a sense of our focus areas for our advocacy, but what I wanted to focus on is the box labeled key topics on the bottom right. Our board uses ad hoc committees to really update our policy and stay current on hot topics, and so you'll see that we have 3 currently underway. One is recruitment and retention of public employees out of recognition that our counties are seeing some pretty high vacancy rates in some areas. I know one county had a 100% vacancy rate in behavioral health therapists. And so we're looking at if there are policy things that can be done on that front. Secondly, we've formed a predator management ad hoc committee. Particularly for the North State, the issue with wolves and wolf management has become top of mind, but we're looking at not only wolves, but also bears and mountain lions under that ad hoc committee. And then lastly, and Supervisor Pyska was instrumental in helping getting this up and running, is the SGMA, Sustainable Groundwater Management Act ad hoc committee. And it originally was born, I think, out of an interest in helping medium priority basins and some of the reporting requirements and costs associated with that. But I think our SGMA ad hoc is going to look a little more broadly as well to see if there's any fine tuning that can be done now that we're well into the SGMA process. The challenge will be doing that with a legislature that might want to tune in the opposite direction of what our rural counties want. So we're going to be trying to thread the needle on that one over the coming weeks or coming months. But I did want to talk about 2 other areas. One is state mandate reimbursement. It's been a perennial challenge. Many, many years ago, counties had a pretty well-oiled machine for so when a state passes legislation that imposes a mandate, counties must, within a year of triggering a cost, file a test claim with the State Mandates Commission. One county can do it. If that State Mandates Commission approves it, then all counties become eligible for reimbursement under that mandate. Like I say, it was once a well-oiled machine, but a couple of things happened. One is the individual who was running that retired, and then the state stopped reimbursing mandates for a period of time. And as a result, a lot of counties stopped submitting mandate test claims, and many stopped filing for reimbursement. So a couple of years ago, we began coordinating closely with our urban colleagues. RCRC brought on a consultant to help us file test claims, and now we're working in collaboration with our rural colleagues to make sure we get those test claims filed. And in some cases, an urban county may have hit a cost several years ago, and they're out, they've missed the statute of limitations to file a claim. But rural counties haven't yet hit it. So we're working with collectively, holistically, to make sure we're picking up all those claims, and for a rural county, filing that claim may be a bit laborious. Now RCRC is funding the actual filing, has a consultant on board to do it. We still need counties to volunteer to provide the raw data that goes into the claim, but we've filed one with Sutter, we're currently working with Butte, and more recently Mendocino indicated an interest in working with us. So if you've got something out there that is a potential test claim that you would really like to file, we're here to help you do that. Secondly, we're going to look at, is there a way we can help making sure counties get all of their dollars that they are eligible for? I have a sneaking suspicion, not yet validated, that particularly for our smaller counties, they have not filed for every claim that they're eligible for reimbursement. So again, we're going to look at, can we help on that front? Can we hold a master contract? Can we fund some of the initial work? Can we make it easy for counties to do it so we can more comprehensively claim, particularly for our small counties? So just wanted you to be aware of all that effort, more to come on that, but certainly invite Lake's participation. And speaking of participation, you are one of 25 counties participating in our jail medical services study. As you likely know, the majority of counties in California use a single provider for jail medical services. That provider last year went through a bankruptcy proceeding, and now counties are seeing pretty significant cost increases with renewals. And I think there's a pretty far-ranging concern about the cost of jail medical services, about the cost of litigation associated with jail medical services, and what can we do on that front. So RCRC acted as a convener to bring the counties together. We now have, I believe it's 5 regional groups. We went through an RFP process. We have 2 consultants coming in. One provides accreditation on national correctional healthcare systems or on correctional healthcare systems. They'll be doing most of our counties, and then the coastal counties picked a different consultant, Health Management Associates. But in the next month, we'll be initiating those studies, working very collaboratively. Ultimately, the idea is to see what are the array of options for providing jail medical services? Are there any benefits to exploring it regionally? If so, what does that look like? And come back to you with very specific cost-benefit analysis around the array of options and having your input along the way through your CAO as we work to develop that. So again, just something to be aware of that's underway on that front. And then lastly, on this slide, I wanted to talk indigent health planning. I know you have an HR1 update coming later today. You may have already had a presentation from CMSP, the County Medical Services Program. I don't know, but just know that all counties under Welfare and Institution Code Section 17,000 are the provider of last resort for health care for the indigent population. So with the changes that Medi-Cal are coming, I think CMSP has estimated that somewhere between 1,000 and 2,100 individuals in Lake County are likely to seek care under Welfare and Institution Code Section 17,000. Before the Affordable Care Act, Lake County, along with 35 other counties, provided that service through the County Medical Services Program, CMSP. It's a statutorily created body specifically for the purpose of providing indigent care, and it did it very capably for Lake County and 35 counties up until the Affordable Care Act when it switched over to Medi-Cal. Problem is, when all that happened, the state stripped the funding from CMSP. The Welfare and Institution Code Section 17,000 stayed in place, funding is gone. Now, with the changes in Medi-Cal, again, between 1,000 and 2,100 individuals in Lake County are likely to need services under Welfare and Institution Code Section 17,000. No funding is available. So we're working very closely with CMSP to advocate at the legislature. They're estimating about $311 million they'll need on an annualized basis to provide that for the 35 counties. And so we'll be, their letter I think is actually going in on that front today. Our CRC will be strongly supporting it. We've been working very closely with CMSP on that advocacy going forward. It's a very fast rundown of all things advocacy. Next slides are on our affiliates. Any questions on the policy or advocacy front before I switch gears?
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for going over those key topics. Jail medical services is something I want to touch on a little bit. Part of the problem is everything that's changed. Our jails used to have folks who were actually doing jail time. Now it's become like a miniature prison, but at the same time, that's a very small percentage. The rest are pretrial. Approximately 70% of our jail is pretrial. I know this is something that CSAC supports and NACO supports, and I hope that RCRC is also doing their lobbying on this, but the fact that they lose Medi-Cal automatically, even if they have not been convicted, is what kills us on the cost, because we're paying full cost. So if we can all work together to change that, it makes no sense for to treat somebody like a convicted criminal when they have yet to be convicted, but yet that's 70% of our jail, and we, rightfully so, need to take care of those individuals when they're in our facilities. And so to me, that's the change that can really help out in our jail medical services. There's some other issues, obviously, when you have one major agency that can be hired to do the work, but I think that right there is the cost prohibitive part that we're all dealing with, is we're just paying this extreme healthcare cost at the actual price, the full price, rather than getting some help. So
absolutely, that is
where I would
definitely
like
a
to go.
challenge for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have one thing.
Oh, go ahead.
The predator management is something that affects us deeply here and in rural areas. I know I'm not on the RCRC, but that's something I've been trying to get working on. So do you guys provide information, or do you have meetings where I can watch what you're doing, open meetings on the ad
We'll
hoc?
have report outs coming at our open board meetings, but what I can do in the interim, is connect Stacy Heaton, who staffs that effort with you, and she can provide you a direct briefing on it and share the latest information.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Supervisor Crandall.
Pat, I don't remember, but I think that there's been occurrences where folks that aren't necessarily on the RCRC board could attend ad hocs. I don't know if that's happened before or not.
Occasionally with the ad hocs, it's up to the ad hoc chair in this case, and I don't want to speak for the ad hoc chair in this case, but that's where I'll connect Stacy.
I'll reach out to them, yeah, too.
Yeah,
Thank you, I appreciate that a bunch.
definitely.
I feel like Supervisor Co. is involved in that
Oh,
conversation.
yes.
For sure.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing up the Sigma working group. I know it's going to be a big year with RCRC and CSAC and joint work. So you were one of my first conversations and really helped pull things together. So I'm looking forward to this year and those conversations.
Absolutely, I appreciate it, and now it's off and running, so thank you for that conversation.
Thank you. Go ahead, I think we're,
Sure. And like I say, I'll now move quickly through our affiliate entities just to give you a sense of the entrepreneurial side, but some of them may relate to what's happening here in Lake County. Golden State Finance Authority is a joint powers agency made up of all 40 counties, including Lake County, and it focuses on homeownership, infrastructure financing, and it serves as an incubator for our rural county initiatives. National Home Buyers Fund does some of that same work nationally, but GSFA, as we know it, I think on your agenda, first-time homebuyer programs, know that you have a partner, that if you want to creatively design something for Lake County, we're happy to see if we can help and assist on that effort, because we already have relationship with lenders, we already have all the systems set up to support down payment assistance and assisting people doing that. And you can see that over 200 individuals or families in Lake County have purchased homes through either GSFA or NHF. And if you go to the next slide, and one specific program I wanted to mention today is our Assist to Own program. You've had 5 employees in Lake County take advantage of this. If you're a Lake County employee and you want to buy a home, you can get 3.5% down payment assistance at 0 cost. What that means is no interest ever accrues on that 3.5%. No payments are ever due on that 3.5%. It becomes, the principal only becomes due and payable when you sell the house, because it sits there as basically a silent second, or at the end of 30 years you would need to do something, refinance or pay it at that point. But there's never any interest accrual, never any payments due. So try to get the word out on that program. We've had some counties like Tulare, I think, have over 20 individuals that have used it. Shasta's had quite a few use it as well, and it's just a matter of the word getting out. It's the costs of it are funded by Golden State Finance Authority out of recognition, again, with the recruitment and retention of public employees. This was something we could do to help employees buy homes in their home county. So just wanted to reinforce that message. And if you go to the next slide. Our newest public agency is Golden State Connect Authority. It's a joint powers agency made up again of the same 40 counties. It was formed about 5 years ago and to help bring high-speed fiber broadband to rural communities. Within a year, we had pulled down $19 million to do engineering for that, including here in Lake County. And more recently, we've been successfully awarded $185 million to do construction. We paired that with a bond financing from private entities like Franklin Templeton and Vanguard for another $110 million. And so we will actually, at the end of the month, at the upcoming board meeting, be awarding our first construction contract to move forward with putting fiber in the ground to bring high-speed fiber, last-mile fiber out to homes. We did submit a project for Lake. We weren't funded by that for the FFA, but the idea is with the projects you see on the screen, that's the foundation, and then we'll slowly begin building out using either future grant opportunities or system revenues to expand the system. Again, really targeting the areas that either private providers are either unwilling or unable to serve. That'll be a publicly owned open access system, so think of it like an airport. We put the fiber in the ground, but then we open it up to private providers, just like in an airport, you build the airport and private airlines use it. Here, we'll put the fiber in the ground, but open it up so that you as a homeowner or a business have multiple options to choose from. Next slide. Golden State Natural Resources is our newest nonprofit focused on partnering with the state and federal agencies to do more work in the forest. Supervisor Crandall sits as a board member on GSNR. And GSNR is doing 3 primary things. One, we're working with the Forest Service to get more projects approved. And more recently, we just finished a project in the Modoc National Forest where we did the project's management and completed the NEPA for the Forest Service. So we handled them a ready-to-go project that they simply signed the record of decision and it's ready to go. And that work was just completed. We're looking to do more of that. Secondly, we're looking to get piles like that out of the forest to users, and the Forest Service has provided us a grant, so we're moving material today from, in this case, the El Dorado National Forest to a user in Tuolumne County that they would not otherwise be able to fund moving the material that far, but for this biomass transportation assistance we provide through the Forest Service grant. We're actually looking at our next series of projects and talking to the Mendocino National Forest, a few others, about projects they would like to do under that. So that's sort of our current focus that we can do today is moving the material, but long term, we want to de-risk the biomass supply side so that if whether it's a biochar, hydrogen, sustainable aviation fuel, anybody that comes to California that wants to use biomass for a future use, likely in alternative fuels or energy production, they can turn to us for supply of biomass. So again, we can get piles like that out of the forest because right now they're being burned or decomposing in place in the forest. And we have two sites, one in Northern California and one in Tuolumne County, where the material would come in wood chip form, and then both sites are on rail and they could be shipped out by rail to potential users. We will finish our draft EIR on that project here this year, probably by mid-2026. This is a switch from when I was last here, when we were looking at exporting the product for overseas use in energy production. When we released the draft EIR on that, our board took in the comments and looked at updated business assumptions, and frankly, the pricing had changed a bit to where the board felt it was a better solution to focus on domestic use of wood chips, and consequently, that's why it's taking a little longer. We had to revise the draft EIR to move in that direction. So hopefully by 2026 or mid-2026, we'll have that revised draft EIR out for public review. Two more, I'll move quickly. One is Environmental Services Joint Powers Authority. Lake County is a member of this JPA along with 25 other counties, and it basically helps your waste management functions navigate Cal Recycle, the Regional Water Quality Control Board. Again, those economies of scale by working with your colleagues, and we provide technical assistance support for doing that. And then our last one, if you'll move to the next slide, is the Rural Advancement Institute. This is a 501c3 we brought back to life, nonprofit back to life a few years ago to do two things. One is to help educate primarily urban legislators, and secondly is to conduct applied research on topics of interest to rural counties. So we've hosted several tours, one in Mariposa, one in Monterey, and we're actually working with the Assembly Majority Leader, Assembly Member Aguiar Curry, to bring hopefully a contingent of legislators to Clear Lake. Still working on the final details for that, but Supervisor Crandall's been helping us and helping the Assembly Majority Leader put all that together, and RAI will be the sponsor of that tour. And then we are just about to kick off our newest research project, which is to look at fire and EMS. Well, phase one was to look at fire and EMS capacity in rural counties, namely the challenge of decreasing volunteerism, increasing call volumes, and not enough funding for paid staffing. Phase two will be to there were about a dozen recommendations, take those recommendations and build them out in terms of, okay, what can we do legislatively to actively support our small districts, and to look at the issue that the reality is that's leading to health disparities in rural counties. Some counties actually have areas of the county where there is no ambulance response. And so in those cases, we want to use those health disparities to drive the conversation to the legislature with, we have a challenge out there, the legislature is generally unfamiliar with it, which is fire districts with decreasing volunteerism, increasing call volumes, and not enough funding for paid staff. And that challenge is leading to health disparities. Legislature, we need your help to solve it. So that, in a very quick summary, is all things RCRC. Happy to take any additional questions you may have.
Supervisor Crandall?
I was just going to add to the Golden State Natural Resources. I think it's my second year on this, and I really started growing accustomed to it because I appreciated RCRC and GSNR and their approach to tribes. In this situation, there's an opportunity for RCRC and Golden State Natural Resources to, in essence, not work with the tribes when it comes to the cultural monitoring and AB 52 and whatnot. Yet they've still taken the stance to still consult with tribes, and it was I appreciated that. And then dealing with specific projects in our county when it comes to biochar, the approach that Golden State Natural Resources is taking is in Tuolumne County, where it's Jamestown, I think that's where the project's going to be. It's an actual logging facility that it used to be. So it's refocusing the same type of work in a facility. So when we have projects where they're trying to rebuild a new one or something of the like, it becomes really controversial. But with this, even the community at one of the most recent meetings we had in October, even the folks that were in the town were very, satisfied as opposed to before, and that they were working with them. So I really do appreciate the approach. I like being a part of it because of that, and I just wanted to highlight that because I know that in our county we've had a recent situation with the biochar, and it wasn't similar to what we're dealing with here. So.
Thank you. Supervisor Sabatier.
Yeah, just real quick, the housing study, I don't know the specifics of it. You didn't get into the specifics, and that's perfectly fine. I just want to throw in my 2 cents. I don't think Sacramento understands our housing issues. Our meaning Lake, Glen, Siskiyou, Lawson, all the counties where if you build a house, you are now underwater with the money that you spent building a house versus what it's actually valued at that you can sell it on the market. I'm going to do the same thing at CSAC and the Rural Caucus, where hopefully we can get some of those same counties together, but there has to be some level of advocacy to creating programs within the state to help us build houses and not just what's passing at the state level, which ends up being low-income apartment complexes, which has a place, but we are not building a full spectrum of mixed income housing, and the state's not helping us. And if there's a way to have those meetings, to bring those counties together so we can figure out what do we want to advocate for at the state level or the federal level so that we can continue to build our communities rather than watch them not build, which is not what we want to see. So I just wanted to at least highlight that there are very specific counties, and most of them, if not all of them, are in RCRC, enduring the exact same types of problems that we have with housing.
Absolutely agree, and it's a continuing topic for sure.
Yes.
Thank you. Supervisor Pyska.
Well, I know that Supervisor Crandall is aware, and you probably are too, that we were one of the pilots working with LCI in the biomass utilization pilot, and so we're done with our plan, and we are looking for funding for implementation, and so I just wanted to make sure that there was crossover and that you've been bringing that along with you, which I'm sure you are.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate giving us this presentation and letting us know what's going on, and the work of RCRC is definitely very critical and important to our rural counties, so thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick.
Before we move to our next item, I'm going to need to take a 5-minute recess.
Perfect. Yes.
I needed more coffee.
I'm going to call the meeting back to order, and at this time, we're going to take up item 5.9, which was pulled earlier for some language issues. I believe it was lacking a statement about authorizing the chair to sign. Am I correct, Johanna? Okay. So does any board members have any questions or concerns about that item, 5.9? Which I guess I need to read that off, I'm sorry. And 5.9 is approve Amendment 2 to the agreement for the creation and installation of the Lake Como family sculpture at the Historic Courthouse Museum. No more questions from the board. I'm going to open it up for the public. If the public has any comments. I know Mr. Miller was here. I'm not sure if he's outside.
Les, I think he is out there. I was just talking to him.
We'll give it a second, see if we can find out if Mr. Miller is out there.
Is he the sculptor?
No.
Oh.
No, he's a member.
Yeah, he's one of the main tribal leaders that are pushing for the initiative.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I will state, I did talk to Mr. Miller, and his understanding is what was in the amendment basically was that the sculptor needed another 6 months to handle this item. I did talk to Mr. Miller over the weekend
Who's the sculptor?
about that. Any other questions? We'll open it up to the public. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak on this item? Not seeing any, I'll bring it back to the board. Go ahead, Supervisor.
Yeah, just it's really nice to have somebody who could do the work here locally, I believe out of Kelseyville, if I
Yes.
remember the memo correctly. I don't have the name off the top of my head.
Rolf Kirkin.
But thank you. Greatly appreciate that this project is moving forward. If there needs more time, it was good to hear, though incorrectly, from Les Miller that he approves of the extension, so at least we know what he came here to say. And looking forward to passing it. And if that's fine with you, Mr. Chair, since it's your district, or then I want to move to approve. My thing is skipping. Amendment 2. Goodness gracious. Amendment 2 to the agreement for the creation and installation of the Lake Como family sculpture at Historic Courthouse Museum and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries 5-0. I'm going to move on to, at this point, 7.2, which is consideration of administrative office overview presentation. We have a request to move that to a date and time unknown at this point, hope probably within the next couple of weeks. Do we have any comments from supervisors? Looks like that's okay. Any members of the public wish to comment just on whether or not we would continue this item? Nothing online, nothing in the room. Bring it back to the board, and we have consensus to move that. So that concludes that item. And then at this point, it's 11:43. We're going to take a lunch break, and we'll come back at 12:45, and we'll start off with the cannabis ordinance item at that point. So we will be now in recess till 12:45.